In a long-awaited move that captured the attention of historians, journalists, and generations of Americans who have remained fascinated by one of the most controversial events in modern U.S. history, President Donald Trump announced the public release of roughly 2,800 documents related to the 1963 assassination of President John F. Kennedy. This release came after decades of speculation, persistent conspiracy theories, and countless requests from the public for access to information that had been locked away for more than half a century. Trump explained that while thousands of documents were being released in full, some materials would remain temporarily withheld due to national security concerns raised by various federal agencies. In a formal White House memo, the president stated that the American people deserved as much transparency as possible regarding this pivotal event, emphasizing that citizens had waited far too long for full clarity. However, he also acknowledged that intelligence agencies insisted that specific details still required protection in order to prevent potential harm to ongoing national security operations, foreign relations, and law enforcement activities. Trump added that agencies would be given 180 days to review their proposed redactions and justify them under the standards established by the President John F. Kennedy Assassination Records Collection Act of 1992, after which any information that could not be legally withheld would be made public. The 1992 Act was itself the result of decades of public pressure. It demanded that all assassination-related materials, more than 5 million pages spanning multiple agencies, witness accounts, classified investigative reports, intelligence files, and foreign communications, be gathered and stored in one centralized public archive managed by the National Archives and Records Administration. The law required that these documents be released no later than 25 years after the act was passed, meaning the deadline fell in October 2017. Because so many of the documents had remained secret for so long, anticipation built steadily in the months leading up to the release, with news outlets, researchers, and amateur sleuths speculating about what long-hidden information might finally come to light. For conspiracy theorists and skeptics of the official narrative, the release was seen as a potentially monumental moment. Many people have never accepted the conclusion of the Warren Commission, the government-appointed panel led by Chief Justice Earl Warren, which determined that former U.S. Marine Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone when he fired the shots that killed President Kennedy on November 22, 1963, in Dallas, Texas. Despite the Commission's findings, countless Americans have continued to believe that Oswald was part of a larger plot and that powerful forces, possibly within the government, intelligence agencies, organized crime, or foreign governments, played a role in orchestrating the assassination. A Gallup poll conducted near the 50th anniversary of Kennedy's death showed that only a small percentage of Americans accepted the lone gunman theory, while many others suspected involvement by groups such as the Mafia, the Soviets, Cuban intelligence, or even elements within the CIA or FBI. These suspicions have been fueled for decades by gaps in public knowledge, incomplete records, contradictory witness statements, and the cultural influence of films, books, and documentaries that dramatized alternative explanations. Historians and conspiracy theorists alike expressed particular interest in whether the newly released documents might shed light on Oswald's travels, conversations, and associations during the months leading up to the assassination. Some hope for confirmation of rumored connections between Oswald and the Mafia, especially given the tense climate of the early 1960s. When organized crime figures felt threatened by the Kennedy administration's crackdown on their operations. Others were eager to examine possible CIA files that may have referenced Oswald before the assassination, raising questions about whether intelligence agencies had monitored him more closely than previously acknowledged. Still others wondered if the documents would reveal more details about Oswald's time spent in the Soviet Union, his attempt to renounce his U.S. citizenship, or his interactions with pro-Castro Cuban activists in the United States. Every obscure detail had the potential to feed a theory or disprove one, which only increased public fascination with the release. Yet experts cautioned that people expecting dramatic revelations were likely to be disappointed. Gerald Posner, author of the well-known 1993 book Case Closed, which supported the conclusion that Oswald acted alone, told reporters that he did not believe the new documents would fundamentally reshape the historical understanding of the case. Posner suggested that the public might be imagining dossiers filled with explosive secrets, but he believed that most documents would consist of routine intelligence memos, surveillance reports, diplomatic cables, and bureaucratic communications. Interesting to historians, but unlikely to expose a hidden conspiracy. He emphasized that sensational expectations were fueled mainly by the idea of secret files being locked away for decades, but in reality, the majority of assassination-related materials had already been publicly released long before Trump's announcement. The National Archives itself noted that although the JFK collection included around 2,000 cubic feet of material, the vast majority of it had been available to the public for years, with only a relatively small portion still redacted or classified. The question of why JFK conspiracy theories have endured for so long is a subject of much study in psychology and sociology. Numerous scholars have observed that conspiracy theories often provide a sense of structure and emotional comfort, offering explanations during times of uncertainty or national trauma. The assassination of a young, charismatic president who symbolized hope and change was a deeply shocking event, and many people found it difficult to accept that such a monumental tragedy could be carried out by a single, relatively unknown individual with unclear motives. Human beings often seek proportional explanations for major events. They struggle with the idea that a lone gunman could alter the course of history so profoundly. As a result, more elaborate theories, some involving multiple shooters, secret government cabals, or foreign intelligence agencies, can feel more satisfying or believable to those seeking a deeper narrative. Researchers in political psychology have also found that certain personality traits can make individuals more prone to believing in conspiracies. People who feel alienated, distrustful of institutions, or marginalized in society sometimes gravitate toward explanations that challenge official accounts. Some individuals with paranoid cognitive tendencies may be especially drawn to alternative narratives that offer a sense of hidden knowledge or deeper insight. Over time, these beliefs can become deeply ingrained, especially when reinforced by popular culture and repeated discussions in classrooms, documentaries, and family conversations. Joe Osinski, a political scientist who has studied conspiracy thinking extensively, has pointed out that Kennedy-related conspiracies in particular have become part of American cultural folklore. Many students first encounter alternative explanations from teachers or professors, who may introduce the idea that the official story leaves unanswered questions. This creates a social environment where skepticism becomes normalized and passed along from one generation to the next. In the decades since the assassination, the Kennedy case has taken on a mythic quality, blending historical evidence with cultural storytelling. Films like Oliver Stone's JFK and countless television programs have dramatized the events, making it increasingly difficult for the average person to distinguish between documented facts and artistic interpretation. Each time new documents are released or new interviews surface, even minor details can spark renewed interest or revive old theories, keeping the topic alive in public discourse. The combination of incomplete records, evolving interpretations, and America's enduring fascination with political intrigue ensures that discussions about JFK's death remain active even more than 60 years later. The latest release of documents is therefore just one chapter in a long story that continues to grow and evolve, shaped by public imagination as much as by historical evidence.